Talking to some of the best names in contemporary Christian music. This is the Hope FM Artist Interview.
And welcome to this week's episode of The Artist Interview, a podcast from Hope FM. And this week, I've got to say, we've got such a lovely guy who's got some really amazing music out there. It's none other than Michael Cochren. So we're pretty familiar with your music here on Hope FM. And, you know, it would be great to find out a little bit about your story, about where you've come from, about your musical gifting, how that all came about, and how Jesus wove right into the middle of your story. So feel free, you've got the floor, sir.
Yeah, well, you know, my story is probably not uncommon for a lot of people in America here that you know, grew up kind of Bible Belt, as we call it, you know, like Christianity is just kind of permeates society in some way, shape, or form. But it was really, I was brought up in the church. My grandfather was a minister for 50 years. My grandmother was a church organist, and you know, I was there every Sunday, and I just remember her walking around barefoot because she didn't like to wear her shoes on the organ pedals. So my mom was like the children's church teacher, you know. We were just there all the time. Church was like, I mean, I just didn't even think, I thought everybody just went, you know, it's what we all did. And I remember I went to, I got baptized when I was a little kid, probably like 9 years old. And I just always believed, you know, but then, yeah, I mean, I grew up, like, music was a huge part of my upbringing. You know, my grandparents sang all the time. My mom sang to me. My dad played multiple instruments, and I just knew from a young age I wanted to be a musician. You know, that's what I wanted to do. If I couldn't be a professional basketball player, which I wasn't very good, I wasn't very good at that. But I always wanted to just be a musician and sing, and whatever that was going to look like. And when I was little, those things worked together, my faith and music. And most of my musical outlets as a kid was church and playing specials, you know, on Sunday mornings, and even leading from a hymnal at the small country church that I grew up in. And but when I got older in the middle school and stuff, you know, I started doing band. I started playing drums. Drums was like the first instrument I really cared about. I took piano lessons as a kid, but there's something about hitting the drums, you know, and making
my son is a drummer.
noise.
He sometimes drums for like, I don't know, 10 hours a day. Sometimes he's in the UK, we've got different grades for your drummer. He's just done grade 8 and got 93%, which is the top grade you can get. So,
oh, that's awesome.
He's a serious drummer, but for him, it's drums or nothing. So, yeah. So you were doing drums back then. What age was that?
I would have started when I was the 6th grader. So that would be like, I think, like 11, 12, maybe 12 years old.
Yeah.
And that's all I cared about. I mean, I just wanted to drum all the time. I didn't play piano at all. I just wanted to just drum. And I joined the pep band, joined the jazz band. And then when I got into 8th grade, upper middle school, some high school guys asked me to join their rock band. And that was like the coolest thing ever, you know. So we were touring the Midwest region and you know, playing out and playing rock music with other rock bands. And I was like, holy smokes, like, this is what I want to do. I want to tour. And that was my first taste of like road life. And I was like, this is it for me. And, you know, things change when you go through school, and friends groups change and stuff. And I ended up, you know, not being in that band anymore. And then I started playing piano again and writing music. And so by the time I was about to graduate high school, I had kind of a little stack of songs, mostly terribly written songs, you know, that I was starting to play. And I played my first concert ever my senior year of high school for it coincided with the really bad earthquake in Haiti at the time. And so the community I was in had a fundraiser concert, and I played a concert for the fundraiser relief for Haiti. It was my very first concert. I still have the poster somewhere.
So what year was that roughly?
That was 2010.
And how old were you at that point?
I would have been 17 or 18.
Okay.
Maybe it might have been 18.
Yeah.
But all that was kind of coinciding musically. When I was a kid, they kind of went in tandem with my faith. And then when I got into middle school and high school, I kind of started to separate myself from uh, traditional Christian beliefs, kind of, like, um, I think what I was experiencing was I had been going along with my parents' faith, and my grandparents' faith as a kid. And then there became these years of like, well, what do I actually think? How do I want to live my life? Maybe I don't want to live it like this. Maybe I want to do it my own way, see what else is out there. So that kind of became the theme of my high school years, was rebellion. And but like subtle rebellion. Like, my friends' parents still thought I was a good kid, and so did my parents. And I would have called myself a Christian so that my grandparents like didn't get mad at me or something like that, or my parents. But I mean, really nothing in my life looked like Jesus or Christianity by the time I was leaving high school and entering college. Uh, you know, I my goals and aspirations for music at that time were just like, let's get girls to like me, and let's just be the coolest person ever, And I wanted to move to Nashville, Tennessee. I was born and raised in Indiana. I should probably say that, but I wanted to move to Nashville, Tennessee, and I wanted to play at the bars and the honky tonks, and I wanted to pick up girls, and I wanted to play music uh, every day, all day long. And that was kind of my goals. But when I went to college, I began to connect with some guys on campus that I kind of knew. They kind of knew me, but they were serious Christians, and they took their faith seriously. And I began to rub shoulders with them more and see, oh, like there's a way that you can find peace and fulfillment, not in the rat race, not in trying to seek approval through your talents or your whatever, because that's how I spent most of my time. Is like all my friendships revolved around either me being funny or being good at music, or it was all like about my performance, like there wasn't a
Sure.
lot of relationship built on just who I was. And I began to kind of experience that community, and I began to, I think, maybe even meet Jesus for the first time in college, and began to read the Bible and go to Bible studies. And because I stopped doing some of the things that I was doing. I stopped, a lot of the heavy drinking and some of the drug stuff that I was into in high school and college. And I started, basically got new friends, and I was hanging out at these Bible studies. And they were like, hey, you want to play piano with us tonight at this worship thing? And I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm the guy for that, And but I did. I started playing music in the worship bands there, and as God began to work in my heart, I began to serve at a church part time with their worship in the town I was going to college in. And so all this time, God was using the things that I love, the things that I used to use for myself for vanity. God began using them to draw me to himself, and to kind of create this path for me of like, it's what I wanted to do my whole life. And God knew that, and God put that desire in my heart, and he was just guiding that process of, okay, you think it's going to look like this, and I'm just going to shift it, and it's going to look like this, and you're going to work at a church, which I never ever thought I would ever do.
Wow.
And
Did your grandparents get to know that you worked at a church? Were they
yes,
around?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, that's cool.
My grandfather, he passed away in 2020 in the spring, uh, right before COVID stuff, actually. So he was in a nursing home. So I'm actually thankful that the Lord, took him then. He didn't have to live in the nursing home during COVID. But my grandmother's still living. She's 93 years old,
Wow.
and yeah, so it's pretty cool. What's funny is uh, they prayed my whole life that these opportunities would come for me, and so it's cool. My grandfather got to see me go out on my first big tour, and
Wow. You mentioned that you've been out on the road with some big name people. So you're on Goatee Records, aren't you?
yes,
Which is Toby Mac's label. So
yeah.
which, being realistic, is exactly the sort of person you don't want to compare yourself to in some regards. In some regards, with regards to his success in the music industry, but with regards to who he is as a person, maybe he's a good person to be alongside. So how have you found having Toby's input in your life?
It's phenomenal. He's just a well of knowledge, and he's been in the game a long time, and that alone, I think, deserves respect. What I appreciate, I think, most about Toby is his championing of who I am as an artist. When you, at least for me, when you go onto a record deal, one of the fears is like, are they going to try to make me something, like make me something else, try to change what I'm doing, or like, do they, like what's the end goal here? And I think I've just seen time and time again that Toby really just wants to champion the sound that's in me and the music that I can do, and just wants me to be the best version of that and not a crummy version of something else.
So it'd be interesting to find out, with regards to the Bible, who's the Bible character that you most relate to and why? You're not allowed to have Jesus.
Who I most relate to. Gosh, probably Peter, because I think I get ahead of myself a lot, and I'm thinking like Peter, not Apostle Peter, like early on Peter in his life, like not like the sanctified, leader of many, the Rock Peter. I'm thinking more of like, I'll never deny you. I'll never, the overconfident, the overzealous, but then kind of feebly, just, I relate to his weakness, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But I also think I relate to the compassion that Christ shows him. And I like to think that I receive that a lot from Jesus. I think that Jesus has made me breakfast many times. And has consoled me many times, and has talked me off the ledge, so to speak, and brought me back into the fold, so I relate to that.
That's I'm racking my brains. I don't think I can remember anyone else choosing Peter, but I love the reason that you did. That's beautiful. Thank you so much for telling us that. Okay, yeah. So we've got one more thing that I need to ask you about. Which is not a very deep thing. It's just to ask, what's the weirdest thing you've ever done?
Oh man, I've done a lot of weird things. I told you, I usually anything for a laugh since I was a kid, but a weird thing that this is fresh on my mind because I just told someone about it like 2 days ago. Last summer, our small group was meeting outside to try to be safer at the church here. And we had this little get together as a bonfire, and we have like locusts in our area, that will like leave their shells around, and cicadas or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Kids will, kids think it's fascinating to find those little, so it looks like a whole bug, just the shell of it, and this little.
How big are they?
Maybe the size of your thumb.
Okay.
Something like that. And it looks just like a outward shell of this whole bug. And so they stick on trees, and this little 5-year-old boy found one, and he was running around to all the other girls in our church group, and he was scaring them with it, and putting them on people, and like laughing when they get freaked out. So he comes over to me, and he stuck it on my shirt to try and scare me. And I don't know why, but I just grabbed the thing and went.
And you ate it?
Yeah. And his face went from like this mischievous snicker to like, and he couldn't believe it. He turns and looks at his mom and dad, and he's like, oh. And my wife was horrified. She's like, I look over at her and everyone's laughing, and she's just like, what have you done? I don't know why I did that. I just
that is great. Well, she's probably thinking, oh, I've got to kiss that. That's the
yeah.
Oh man. Okay, that I've got to say, kudos. That is quite a weird, fun thing to have done.
You've been watching The Artist Interview. For the full podcast, click the links below or visit hopefm.com/The Artist Interview.